I've tried. I really have. I have done everything in my power to try to be positive about this Raw. But let's face it, starting off, I really wasn't positive at all. For anybody that saw my Wrestling Fan Nation page, knows how pissed off I was at the beginning. There was only one bright spot of this entire Raw, and that was Santino. I'm sorry. The Santino segments was the only thing that kept me from having a stroke. It was the only thing that kept my sanity. I'm sorry. All I wanted was Santino. All I wanted was my daily fix of Cobra. All I wanted was, seriously, that was my medication to literally keep me going to watch this Raw because it sucked hard. Like, I have never seen such suckage at a go home show in my life. This is before Money in the Bank. This is where they're supposed to be pressing harder for Money in the Bank to try to get people to watch this pay per view. It blows my freaking mind how AJ dominated pretty much every freaking segment there was. And to top it all off, my nightmares came back. My horrible experience that I had at WrestleMania 27 returned with Lawler versus Cole. WWE Universe, you suck. I'm sorry. You suck. You suck royally. You will forever suck because you guys are nothing but a bunch of mindless sheep. Seriously. For those that actually had the opportunity to go and see WrestleMania, and for those that have watched it on pay-per-view at home, we all know how completely mind-numbing and how completely insane that match was. And just the fact that you idiots out there had the gall to vote for this ridiculous match, which should have ended the way it did at WrestleMania, which went on for practically an hour. It ended in 2 seconds. Why couldn't this have happened at WrestleMania? And the fact that it was on my screen, I don't care how short it was. I don't care. Just the fact that it was on my screen. Literally, just, okay. There was, like I said, the biggest bright spot was the fact that Santino was playing Super Sleuth and trying to figure out the Raw GM, the anonymous general manager, and come to find out they actually wanted to put the whole thing to rest, and they chose Hornswoggle to be the anonymous GM, which we all know what wasn't. And I have to admit, that segment was funny. I actually did laugh, and I did enjoy myself to the point where I thought that my blood pressure went down, and to the point where I did feel like I was having a stroke. But the one thing I can definitely say, the only thing that they did that pretty much did anything towards Money in the Bank was Sheamus and his quick match that he had, but the confrontation at the end with Alberto Del Rio really did push their feud a little bit more, especially towards Money in the Bank. And then, I mean, we had another Money in the Bank qualifying match for the World Heavyweight title when Sin Cara ended up winning. Now, this was already claimed by many other YouTubers out there, saying that they needed to have another high flyer. It's true. We need to have a little bit more. We need to have another high flyer to be in the Money in the Bank, and lo and behold, Sin Cara. But honestly, another thing, I'm trying to find some positive points here, people, but this Raw sucks so bad. It's so hard. But the one thing I can say is that I really am enjoying the fact that the Big Show is becoming a better heel. Seriously, he is becoming a far better heel. He's becoming a little bit more believable as a heel now, especially when he actually made that comment about Jericho. Now, when I was on Facebook and making a few comments, a lot of people talk about what Eve said to CM Punk. That is true in a way. The fact that he was overshadowed by John Cena, by everything that was going on, he was. But Eve is now being overshadowed by AJ, and she's the main person that pretty much took the spotlight from the Divas. So in a way, it's kind of what goes around comes around for Eve. But in a way, they're kind of pretty much in the same situation. So I think that the fact that she called it was interesting. And pretty much did hit the nail on the head. But I'm sorry. The opening segment and the ending segment, the fact that they literally thought that it was entertaining to have AJ literally propose to CM Punk and then have Daniel Bryan propose to AJ, all in the end, her slapping both of them and rejecting them both and going, yes, 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 like a yippee chihuahua. I'm literally trying my hardest not to rant anymore because it's like, what's the point? This is going to be like, this is how Raw is going to be. Raw is going to continue to suck until the 1000th show. This was all that it was for. That was the only thing they were promoting was the 1000th Raw. They didn't care less about the show itself. They didn't care less about the pay-per-view. They cared less about the 1000th Raw. It's like TNA when TNA is actually promoting their shows instead of their pay-per-views. They're just now getting it right. But you got the WWE practically promoting their show on cable a lot more than their pay-per-views, which is something they don't ever usually do. This was all about the 1000th Raw. So what's the point of sitting here and ranting and raving about it when in the end, that's all that it was. They were promoting The Rock. They were promoting all the legends that popped up there. They were promoting all of the memorable segments. That's all it was. It was all about the 1000th Raw and all about Raw being 3 hours. That's the only thing that they're pushing. They could care less about the pay-per-view because you could tell. They could care less about Money in the Bank. I'm sorry. They could care freaking less about it. And it really did show how horrible the show was tonight. I'm sorry, it was. There was a couple of bright spots in there, but good grief, they done only maybe a few things for Money in the Bank. With the Sheamus feud and the fact they had a qualifying match. That's all. I'm sorry. Everything else was filler. The matches were so freaking quick. Really, it was. The match was so freaking quick. I mean, you usually get it from the Funkasaurus, but I'm shocked at the fact that there was no Ryback. And why on earth would SmackDown have a GM match for the following week when they had GMs pretty much lining up? For example, they had Taylor for 1 week for both shows. They had Vicky Guerrero for 1 week for both shows. I mean, for crying out loud. They've had GMs. They had Mick Foley for both shows. Why didn't they have Zack Ryder to be the GM of both shows instead of just SmackDown? Why even have that freaking Battle Royal if you're just going to bring back the stupid anonymous GM? And yes, I know, I said that there was a lot more GMs out there that could have promoted both brands like the anonymous general manager. Yes, I made the mistake in saying that. I did not know they were going to listen to me. But all in all, for real, this was a horrible Raw. They've only done a few good things, and as much as to my happiness that I actually had a chance to show me Santino more than once, to literally bring my blood pressure down to the point where I'm just not on the verge of having a stroke. I can actually say that regardless of those entertaining moments, they did nothing to promote their pay-per-view. They only had a few segments to promote their pay-per-view. The opening segment sucked. The ending segment sucked. The matches were filler and far too quick. I'm sorry. They did absolutely nothing for a go-home show. Thumbs down for that reason. It has nothing to do with the fact that AJ is too much on my screen. I can rant about that all day, but I'm trying to be fair. I'm trying to be fair about this. I'm trying to be a fair reviewer about this. I'm not going to just be biased because I'm sick of AJ. It's just the fact that they just really did not care about the pay-per-view. They did nothing to promote it. The booking was terrible. That's just how it was. I'm sorry. Thumbs down for that reason. And that is my verdict, and I am sticking to it. It's Nation Girl 30 signing off. Peace. Later. And I'm going to try to do my power rankings tomorrow. Later.